Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ebony coming to you once again with just a thought. Again, I am Ebony Vaughn of Vaughn Therapeutic Systems. And so every week I come to you and kind of talk about something that either I have been working with people on, or maybe it's just something that I thought about as it relates to what we struggle with in life. And so, first and foremost, shout out to those first responders and those essential workers who are out there serving and ensuring that we all get what we need. I'm praying for your peace, your protection, your provision, and that God would keep you. For those of you who have been watching these videos, you know that it's something that I do every week. So I just definitely had to take the time to do that. But I want to get into something, and actually this time I want this to be an open dialogue. So I want you guys to really think about this, be honest, and just put your comments in. Today I want to talk about comparison. I want to talk about how often we diminish the gifts of God and the talents and the abilities that we have because we are looking at other people and how their gifts are being manifested, or how their talents are being celebrated, or maybe you're looking at that person as being courageous and you're looking at them and you're like, wow, I could never do that. Or maybe you're looking at them secretly feeling that you can do it, but for whatever reason, maybe you believe that there are barriers and there are things that are preventing you from really stepping out and doing those things that you believe God has ordained for you to do. And first and foremost, I want to say, stop it. Okay. Oftentimes we spend too much time comparing ourselves to others and not enough time digging deep in within ourselves to really pull out the gifts and the talents that God has given us. One thing that I believe and I understand more than anything is that some of our talents are not revealed or discovered and yet until we have the courage to apply pressure in certain areas of our lives. And what I mean by that is, you may never realize that you're a writer until you start writing. You may never realize that you are a great speaker until you start talking. And a couple of months ago, I did a segment and I talked about how oftentimes we compare ourselves to others and we look at them and we're in awe at how their gifts are manifested or their talents are used, and what happens is we limit ourselves, or we dumb ourselves down, or we lower our voice because we believe that we don't measure up to that person that you are in awe of. And I just want to really discourage you from doing that. I want you to believe that what God has placed in you, it's for you. You don't have the same voice. You don't have the same manifestation. You don't have the footprint or the fingerprint of anybody else, only you. And so it's important for you to recognize that and come into your own. Sometimes we have to stop looking at people. Sometimes, and when I say looking at people, sometimes we have to stop being a spectator of other people's gifts and talents, and we have to believe in ourselves enough and have the courage to step out there and to begin to do the things that we believe, or even that we were told, right? That we're good in. And why do I say we were told? Because sometimes I find that we don't see the good in ourselves until someone else does. And sometimes God may send somebody into your life and really have them pull out of you something that he has already designed for you to do. Or maybe you just needed some encouragement, or maybe you just needed someone to believe in you in that particular area. I hope that I'm being clear when I say that. Sometimes you have to stop being a spectator. Some of us are, we are extremely supportive, and we are a sponge. So every single activity, we go to it, and every time that person sings, we go to it. And we lose ourselves oftentimes in the gifts and in the talents of other people. And there's nothing wrong with supporting people, but don't use that as an excuse, or don't use that as a deterrent from you coming out and using your gifts and using your talents. I've spoken with so many people in my practice who struggle with this. They are in awe of things that other people do, and they spend a lot of time talking about how great this other person is, and just and sometimes it borders on the lines of idolizing, and I don't, I'm not going to say all of them that I speak with, they're idolizing others, but what I will say is be careful of that. Be careful of idolizing people and putting so much stock into people that you fail, or that you diminish the gifts and the talents and those unique qualities that you bring to the table. Use the people in your life that you respect and that you love and that you believe are gifted and talented. It's nothing wrong with using them as models and asking them to be your mentors, but you don't want to use them as a model, and you don't want them to be your mentor so that you can grow up and be just like them. That is not the intention of God. When we think about mentoring, we think about allowing people to show us how they've done it, allowing people to give us tips and tools and help to guide us into our own, guide us into the path and to be able to develop in the gifts and the callings that God has ordained for us. And so, just be careful of that. And then the other thing, when we talk about modeling and mentoring, it doesn't mean that the manifestation of your gift or your talent needs to look like your mentors. For those of you who seek to emulate those that you love, stop it. When you seek to emulate the gifts of others, or emulate the people that God places in your life, you run the risk of idolizing them, but you also run the risk of diminishing the footprint and the fingerprint that God has only intended for you. I think about when I was very young, and in my life, I always felt like everybody else was better than me. I always felt like, oh, I want to be like this person, or I want to be like that person. And I had to learn very early in my life that I was running into pitfalls, and I was failing and making a lot of poor choices because I was doing that, because I was putting people where God should have been. And not only was I putting people where God should have been, but I was also allowing my sight to get in the way of my growth and development as it relates to the woman that I was becoming. And I hope that you understand what I mean by allowing my sight to get in the way, because sometimes we look upon people and, we're just looking at how they walk and how they talk and, how they do all these things. And we see them as just being these powerful, impactful people. And so there's a part of you that want to walk the way they walk and talk the way they talk. But here's the thing that you have to understand. When you are doing that, you are resisting God. You are resisting the way God intended you. You are resisting the way God created you, trying to be like someone else. So I hope that this message, or just this short word of encouragement, is that is something that finds you in that, if it finds you in that space where you are diminishing what's in you because you are looking too much at the way other people are being used, I want you to stop it. I want you to, maybe turn off that television, or, turn off the social media, wherever you're watching them at. Take a break and go in the presence of God and allow God to strengthen you and to direct you. Go into God's presence and help him. You ask him to help you to see yourself the way he sees you. I want you to get into the face and the presence of God and allow him to develop in you that need for you to meet you. Some of us, we haven't met the person that God has ordained for us to be yet, and it could possibly be because you're trying to be somebody else. But I encourage you today, be okay with the way God has created and ordained you to be. And if you don't know, I implore you, I beg of you, go into the presence of God. Get into his word. Allow him to show you. Allow him to teach you how to walk in your own path. Ask God to bring people into your life that will help you identify and discover the gifts of God, and to model for you what those gifts of God are. However, you have to develop the uniqueness that he has designed, because that uniqueness means that you are one of a kind. Believe that you're one of a kind and never, ever, ever diminish what God has ordained and what God has created in you. I hope this message has helped you. Have an amazing day.